This intro video is kind of interesting now because normally I'd be like on sharing stuff. Oh, Angela, you can share stuff, I guess. I just can't. Yeah, I can't do anything. I'm unshareable. We are still trying to get. Oh, Jai, play the intro clip.
Welcome to Happy Hour, brought to you by Best Damn Bookkeeping.
Oh yeah, now we got the tunes. Now it's official. Now the show is started.
While I'm stirring it.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. What's up, ladies and gents, business nerds and nerdettes? It is Wednesday, and therefore it's time for Home Service Happy Hour right here on Boots on Ground Radio. I got all sorts of things I want to talk about. I didn't even type the thing that I'm most excited to talk about in the description of today's episode. I didn't, mostly because I didn't run it by Angela first, but I did before we went live. But last week, well, first of all, if you're new here and this is your first time checking out Home Service Happy Hour, welcome. This is like the most fun business podcast on the planet. That's the whole goal. You know, it's happy hour. So welcome, welcome, welcome. You don't have to own a home service business to be here, though. You can just like businessy stuff and cool people talking about it and having fun. So, you know, suit yourself. And if you're anything like me, you might even want to indulge in a cocktail while you do it. I got me a little whiskey and Coke, as I usually do in the afternoon here, because it's just fun.
I have a virgin drink, just a tonic.
Like water and lime? What do you got over there?
Tonic and lime.
There you go. Sounds refreshing. I thought about having a virgin drink because I missed my work. Whoa, my microphone just decided to take a spill. I thought about this microphone stand just needs to go. It's just tired. This microphone stand is just like it's just losing it. I thought about going the non-alcoholic route today because I got to get a workout in at some point. I skipped my normal midday workout in favor of planting the garden because I've had like plants that I needed to get in the ground for a long time, and it's 70, 80 degrees out here all of a sudden. So I spent midday out getting dirty, planting the garden. So no workout for me, but not Chris Borg is in the house. What's happening, Chris? Good to hear from you, man. Cool, clean out in New York. I think New York or New Jersey, New York, right? Chris, close. It's new something. He's out there. He's over there on the east side. Good to have you, man. So we got all sorts of stuff to talk about. Last week, well, Angela was gallivanting all across the globe, which we got to get an update on. The idea behind last week's show was to talk about the most important metric that you can track. And I know what it is, and I'm going to share it. I knew it was Chris says New York. I knew it was New York. And I'm a sucker for metrics, right? I'm a finance dude, so I like to look at metrics. But I actually think sometimes we like get too in the weeds on stuff. And so there's one that I especially like, and I like a lot of them. But there's one that I especially like. So we got to get to that. And I want to talk about AI stuff with Angela having a strategic partner business, not a VA business. Nobody says VAs anymore. They're strategic partners, damn it. Danit's in the house. What's happening, Danit? Before we get to the nuts and bolts instructional sort of things, where you been, Angela? What you been up to? What you doing?
I know we missed last week, and if you are a regular, you know that most of the time, JC and I, wherever we're at, we join from there. I design my life and my flights all the time around this show. But last week we were in Jamaica, and I don't know what happened. I don't think I had great service. We had gotten there, and we were by the pool.
We did get a picture of you guys by the pool. Did you suck down a red
stripe?
A
picture of us. I guess we were just landing. That picture we sent, we were just landing at the airport. So we got a red stripe at the airport, and it was great. We had never been to Jamaica. It was a new country for us, and the people are so chill. The people were definitely our favorite part. So different than any other we've been to. Costa Rica, Dominican, different parts of Mexico, and like the Heyman culture. They really say that all the time, all day.
That is the culture.
That is it. And they're just like dancing and smiling and just so genuinely like different than any people I'd ever met. So
That sounds all right. That sounds all right. What brought you down there? Was it just for fun, or were you doing some D2D Sam Taggart stuff? What were you up to?
Just for fun. Most of the time when we're places, we are for business and then just enjoy ourselves. But we started the tradition 2 years ago when we met. A month after we met, JC took me to Costa Rica for my birthday.
Oh, that's where he crashed the
drone.
Yeah, that was the drone crash.
I highly recommend that. We stayed in this amazing B&B in the rainforest. But then last year we went to the Dominican, so we just kind of make it a thing. Like it's not about my birthday.
It's just a good time to go do something that happens to also be when your birthday is.
Go there, and it's just like the one trip we do that's just us, and go and try and unplug and so
sweet. And it was good.
It was good. Yeah.
Hell yeah. You were somewhere the week before too, right? Like, because there you and JC did jump on remotely.
2 weeks before. I think we were home the week before, maybe not.
It's all a blur.
The week before, 2 days before that, I was in Salt Lake. I went to Salt Lake, and I flew from Salt Lake to Jamaica. He flew from here. And the week before that, we were in Nashville. Did you join from Nashville? We were in Florida. We went to Nashville to Florida and did light training.
We'll have to get a replay on it. We'll have to hit the instant replay booth.
This is where we were. 2 weeks ago, we were in Las Vegas for SolarCon, and then we were in Nashville, and then we were in Florida doing permanent light training.
Man, you guys got to either be like Delta's favorite people or least favorite people. I don't know. Yeah.
Now I'm for this week, and we were supposed to be back in Vegas next Wednesday. But we will be back in Vegas next Thursday for some more D2D stuff. But
you guys are just globetrotters.
I guess I should say it, because part of the episode should be wherever I'm at, there should be.
Yeah. You don't give it all away, because that's the new segment is where in the world,
Right.
We can spoof some Carmen Sandiego in there, right, Jack? How long of a clip can we play without hitting like a copyright issue? Is there any rules around that? I feel like we can sneak in like 2 seconds of Carmen Sandiego.
I don't know.
That'll be the audio.
Yeah, a prize, sponsored prize. Somebody that guesses in the chat where I'm at.
That's right. Drew Larson's in the house. What's up, Drew? So here's what we got to do, Angela. I want to get, even though you and Drew already talked about it, I wasn't there, so I want to ask you about the stuff you probably already talked about in my weird Dan Plata sort of way. But first, I got to hit on the title of the episode, because I teased everybody last week that we were going to talk about the most important metric to track, and then we never got to it because Trevor Steele jumped on with us, and then we just got distracted talking about performance pay, which I think was a really good conversation, and we hit on maybe my second favorite metric, which is production rate and productivity. I think that's a super important one to track, but I won't say it's the end all be all. It feeds into what I think is the most important thing. Like a good productive team feeds into what I think is the most important thing.
And then you talked about productivity yesterday on Ryan's.
I did talk a lot about productivity on Ryan's show. And then I talked about goal setting.
Yes.
I'm working on new material. We might talk about it on here today too. And JC, well, we talked about it a little bit with JC 2-3 weeks ago, after he had, done his triathlon, and he's like, man, I just feel like I left something. And it was like talking about maybe even feeling slightly unhappy about it. And I was like, man, like, that's a bummer when you're doing cool stuff that you mean to be like generating happiness, but you like can't always realize it. And it made me think a lot about goal setting and how I navigate that and try to like maintain joy and happiness and build the goals around that generate that. And there's a lot of overlap in that, but I've spent a lot of time thinking about goals. I haven't studied it at all. I'm almost worried that if I go read what other people have said, it's going to bias me. And so I kind of almost like to observe rather than like read and study it, because I don't want to consume anybody else's thoughts on it. I want to have it all be original, observational. So probably the next time I speak on stage, I'm not going to be talking about finance stuff. I'm going to be talking about goal setting. And I do have a weird lens, right? And Angela, you share similar lenses. We get to watch successful business owners and sometimes average business owners and sometimes unsuccessful business owners. And so we get to see what they're doing. Right. And like, and it's always funny, right? I mean, I can't see this anymore when people post on Facebook. I can't see it because they don't let me on Facebook these days. But back in the day when I could see stuff on Facebook, like I always felt like I was the one person who actually knew the truth, right? Like there's people posting things that are true and that aren't true, and then egotistical things. And I just kept my mouth shut. You know, I'm not like trying to dog on anybody's day, but it's funny when you're in a position where it's like you actually know what's going on, right? And like all that's confidential for our clients, but I can see who's happy and who's not happy. And so I think that like knowing how to set goals and how to focus on the right stuff to make you happy and live in a life of joy is really, really important. Because at the end of the day, like when you chose to be a business owner, that's why you chose to be a business owner and not have a job, was to be more happy, right? Like if you didn't believe that being your own boss could make you happier, you would just go get a job anywhere today. In fact, you could probably go make more money going and getting a job today with all your experiences and on your resume of being a business owner. But yet I know I could go make more money in the corporate world than I do right now. I damn near was making more money in the corporate world when I left damn near 10 years ago. But I wouldn't be having as much fun. Right? I wouldn't be as happy. Wouldn't be as joyous. Wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, Angela. So I think that's super important. And to that extent, I think that feeds into the metric that I hold most dear. And you'll have to take this one with a grain of salt. But Angela, this is a metric you could use as well, and you probably do. It's mostly for recurring service businesses. Drew can use it. You can use it. Maid service companies can use it. Lawn care companies, pest control companies, poop scooping companies. If you're a one-time service client, it manifests itself a little bit differently. Oh, look at this guy coming out of nowhere. Kurt Kempton's in the house. Look at that. Look at that. Huh?
What's up?
What's he doing over there? What's this guy doing over there? What's happening, Kurt?
Oh man, I've been wanting to join you guys for weeks, and here, look at Angela just walking and talking.
Angela's strutting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably because it's turkey hunting season. She's
Oh, is that what it is?
I assume so. She's wearing
I would
all
never
black.
consider Angela
she's dressed
a
as a
turkey.
wild turkey. Yeah, she's dressed as a wild turkey. She's ready to yep.
What's going on, guys? I feel like I interrupted something.
Oh, I was just getting into it. Your timing was actually like perfect. I'm about to divulge the most important metric in the world.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so glad I made
the
it.
whole world. You're right in time. But I was saying that like if you're a recurring service business, this is just it. This is the only metric you need to track. So it's true for Kurt. It's true for Angela. It's true for me. It's true for Drew in the chat. True for Denise in the chat. She's got a maid service business. For a window cleaning business, or Chris Borka, who's in here and he's got an HVAC, like a cleaning, a duct cleaning, like HVAC system cleaning business, where it's more one-time work. This might manifest itself a little bit differently. And if you're selling a thing that, like, if you're putting roofs on houses, this metric ain't for you. This is not. Then I've lied to you. This is not the most important metric to you, but it is for the other people I talked about, and that is client attrition. That's all you need is client attrition. If you're losing customers, right, that tells you everything about everything you need to know about your business. And I've watched this play out in my businesses over the years. And it goes back to goal setting. And I was talking about that with Brian Lee yesterday on his process. Chris is repeat work actually. So yeah. So Chris, this does apply to you. When I look at goal setting, it's like what's bringing the most joy and happiness out there to your clients, to your employees, right? That's your two like groups of stakeholders that like in your business you're taking care of. And then if you're keeping them happy, you're usually keeping yourself happy and your spouse happy at the same time. And so there's a lot of joy to go around, and it tends to be manifested in client attrition, right? If you are losing clients, there's a missing link. Somebody ain't happy. Right. And so there's a process missing that makes that client feel appreciated, priced correctly, communicated with the right expectations. And if they don't feel like that's happening, they leave, right? They're going to go find somewhere else where they can get what they're searching for. And so again, like if I'm going to track a metric, and if I'm going to talk to my team about a metric, and I do this at Best Damn Bookkeeping, we don't look at our I look at our books all the time, right? I'm a nerdy bookkeeping dude. And I show our team our books, but just as a proof of concept, like here's the result. But I don't need you guys to worry about our revenue. I don't need you to worry about our profit, right? That'll happen. That's a result of focusing on the right stuff and the right metrics. And I, with 100% certainty, guarantee that if we don't lose any clients, we're going to have one badass business, right? The rest plays itself out. Generally, like we don't need a metric to tell us if we're priced right. We know what the market prices for our different services. We can confirm it with our bookkeeping and our like cost of goods sold ratios and stuff like that. It's like, again, if we're losing clients, that might tell us something about our pricing too. And every other metric you can calculate kind of feeds into that. We talked a lot about production rate last week on the show and pay per performance. And again, that's just a way to make sure your employees are happy and productive. And if your employees are happy and productive, you don't lose clients, right? Because they're doing a great job for your clients. So it all like manifests back into attrition rate. And you can tell if your business is working. Now, you might need to work your way backwards if your attrition rate sucks and you're losing a lot of clients, and you got to figure out what part of that is happening where, and then you're asking clients for feedback. What part of that is happening where we're not delivering? We're not setting the right expectation. We're not delivering. And this is just my own personal experiences. I ran a business where that wasn't our focus. And it sucked running it. Like there wasn't joy. I didn't enjoy, like the happiness wasn't there because we were focused on other metrics. And when I started Best Damn Bookkeeping, I was like, we're not worrying about revenue. We're not worrying about profit. This doesn't exist to make Dan more money. I don't give a shit. It's just not a motivator for me. But I do really care if we're doing a super good job for people. And the best way for me to tell that is if we don't lose any clients. And focusing on that, that alone and making that be the predominant thing for our employees. And that's the one metric we worry about. Dang it, I wouldn't, be darned if we didn't grow 10 times faster with the best team in the world, right? Where they're super happy and the clients are super happy because everybody's worrying about the right thing, right? Yeah, we need to be productive, and we still talk about production, right? We have a conversation tomorrow morning about production. And so it's like we don't ignore everything else. We're still always trying to get better at every single aspect of our business forever and ever and ever. And I assume every business owner in here is, because it's like our weird obsession, right? But it always manifests itself in that attrition rate. Yeah. And again, I caveat it if it's a one-time service business that you run, in which case it's repeat rate. Like, are your clients coming back? If you did a bang up job and they like the experience and it's a thing they need done every year or two, are they coming back? Is your repeat rate good, or does it suck and you have to go spend a bunch more money on marketing to go convince somebody else to buy your thing? And if your repeat rate sucks, it's the same as having bad client attrition in a repeat service business. And
can I ask a question then?
Yeah, dog.
So if you're losing clients, and I would say that I really painfully hurt myself for years thinking I should never lose a single client. That's not a realistic expectation in my world, but it's also, people die, people move, we're going to lose clients.
People go out of business.
Yeah. What do you do, or what do you recommend people do? And what do you do when a client is lost? There's several things that I struggle with in that. Number one is, when someone leaves, there's a fine line between asking a bunch of questions to understand and being the desperate girlfriend that's like driving them crazy so that they don't want to answer you. Like, there's that line. There's here's the reason I'm telling you that I'm leaving, and here's the real reason I'm leaving, but I'm not going to share that with you. Obviously, that's really painful because you can't do anything with the answer you don't have. And what do you do Well, actually, the next question goes too far. So as far as like understanding when people leave and how to start collecting that data, how do you go about doing it in a way that makes sure that you're getting good, clean data that's not pushing people away from giving you the data?
Yeah. I don't know that there's a right answer to that because I think it's client by client, right? And your spidey sense of who's going to be honest with you. Like, there's some clients where I don't bother asking because either I already know and it's not a good fit, right? Like they shouldn't have been our client in the first place sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we've definitely ran into that. I had a guy cancel service today. Oh, where did it go?
I'm here. I think Angela might have lost the internet.
Angela froze up. We had a guy cancel service today, and I know exactly why it is. I don't even need to ask him. Like, we did our price adjustments. He's a super small business, and his price went way up. He's just super inefficient. And we don't price based on people's revenue. We price based on the level of activity in their business. And if they got 8 credit cards and 10 bank accounts, we're not the right bookkeeping company because we're going to penalize them for being set up super inefficiently. That's how our pricing is built because I have to pay somebody to deal with all that crap. And so his price went up to deal with all that crap. And so it's not a good fit anymore. And that's okay. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those where it's like, you just should have never been our client in the first place, probably because I would agree with him. Like, we aren't the right fit for what he's trying to do. We're here to help him scale, and he's not trying to scale. He's trying to be like a dude with a helper. And so I think in that case, our service isn't the right fit. So like, I do list a reason for all of the attrition. Sometimes it's us firing clients where we're like, this ain't worth it for us. This is a pain in the butt, right? We still need to find the right type of clients, but that's more of a reflection that attrition is still real attrition, right? And we don't want it. And so it tells me as the salesperson, I need to do a better job of setting expectations and filtering these people out so they never sign up in the first place, right? I don't want to waste our time serving the wrong client. And so we still count it against ourselves, right? And we don't want any attrition, but it's not always a reflection that we were doing a bad job of executing the service. Sometimes it's a reflection that we did a bad job of selling our service to the wrong person. And that will happen, but all attrition tells you something, right? And Kurt, to your point, I don't know there's a right way to like word that without sounding like a desperate girlfriend. It's the same as like when an employee leaves and you're like, hey, can I get some feedback from you on why you're leaving, right? Like, that's a real tricky conversation to have, and it's different by relationship. Yeah. Like, I think it's always going to be a little bit goofy and awkward to try to get that. And some people I don't really want their perspective, and some people I do, right? Like, there's some people where I trust their opinion, and some people I'm just like, yeah, they should have never been a client. Like, let's all agree this was a bad fit, and I shouldn't have sold them in the first place. I don't want to know anymore. Like, we got better people to serve and bigger fish to fry. I just dealt with one of those today. The dude was a total wreck and like wouldn't pay his last 2 invoices. And I was just like, man, like, just should have never been our client. I didn't know, right? When you sold window cleaning, like, you didn't know when Mrs. Jones called and she was nuts and she was going to like refuse to pay her bill. Like, she didn't call with like, the phone didn't show crazy bitch when the phone rang. It just said her phone number, right? And you served her and cleaned her windows because you were like, she's probably a nice person. And then you went, oh no, she's not, right? Like, but in your process somewhere, or again, it wouldn't repeat, right? She's not going to repeat, but it's still valuable intel, right?
We're not going to let her repeat.
That tells you like, sold the wrong client, but there's still information to be gained by that attrition, and you're still improving your processes to get down to 0 attrition. You're right. It's unfathomable. Like, it might happen for a period of time, but you will lose clients for reasons out of your control. But the wrong client is a reason in your control. Then it goes to your sales processes.
The ones that hurt, obviously, the right clients where either something that was in your control should have been controlled differently, or another situation is you have the right client, but you have the wrong circumstances. You know, we just lost a client last week that was such a heartbreaker. They signed up, they're super excited. You know, they're in the middle of their busy season, and they're like, let's go. I'm so stoked. We need this. And he didn't ever make time to like get set up, didn't do anything. And so he left. He's like, yeah, I just think it's a bad fit. Well, if you'd shown up to your first meeting
Yeah.
we could talk more about that, but like, you know, so that's one that's really hard because you're like, dang it, like,
Yep.
you just know that, and will that penalize us for later? I was talking to Carissa, our concierge, about that, and she's like, it's tough because when they're really slow, they don't want to pay for the service because they're not using it. But when they're really busy, they don't have time to set up the service. So there's like, it can be, you know, tricky that way. And that's the one thing I just really want to figure out about ResponsiBit is how do we get people to onboard painlessly? We've started like putting in default numbers for people that we use industry averages and all that, but it just doesn't matter. If you're in Washington, D.C. or Nebraska, like those industry numbers just aren't really that real.
Yeah, they're so different. They can be so different. Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, those are the painful ones. But yes, like the ones you're talking about where like they never should have been your client, like I think we're doing a lot better job of ruling those people out. But I think that as a cleaning company, it is tough, man. Like Mrs. Jones calls, wants a quote, you do it, you get the quote, you get out there and find out that Mrs. Jones is also Mrs. Hyde, you know, like, like, whoa, who are you? Like, that's
you were
not
so nice on the phone. Yeah. Vice versa.
Anyway.
Yeah, man. It's tricky. Angela, what do you guys track that? What do you think?
We do track it, and there's always things, you know, that are wrong. I agree with everything you guys have said on it. We kind of went through a painful period, like I say, purgatory, that it was my fault. I took clients that I shouldn't have taken, and it has a, you know, that's why we lost them. I never should have taken them in the first place. Like they weren't in economic.
It's so hard. It's so hard as you're like ramping up and growing because you're like, we're gonna help everybody.
We're gonna help you, and you genuinely want to help them. And you know, and with us, it's hard if we all serve home service industry, which can be seasonal. And so that's also hard when you're serving home service businesses that have cash flow issues. It's a little extra hard in ours, I think, too, and yours, Dan, because you have people supporting them. You know, like you have people, and when we take on the wrong clients that couldn't stay with us for the whole year, it's not just like this, oh, we can go out and get a new client. There's a like emotional impact, like a huge impact on your people.
Oh yeah, big time.
When you lose clients too, because all of the turmoil that happened, like all the people that were invested in them and ramping them up for success, and then they left. So, but that's a real thing. A lot of people just take everyone as a client, and when you say that that's the most important metric, it can be for so many reasons. Like, what are the reasons? Did you take the wrong client? Was there a gap in the service for some reason? And you know, what can you do to fix all of those things? But my biggest purgatory in that wasn't that I was taking the wrong clients. I wasn't picking enough, and it wasn't just like, oh, we lost clients, no big deal, let's go get some new ones. It's what turmoil did I leave our leaders run over in the path of that?
Yeah, I do. I try to like I said, it's the one metric we ridiculously look at in our business. And Kurt, to your question earlier, like I really try to make sure we don't make excuses about attrition, right? It's easier to be like, oh, well, it, you know, for X, Y, and Z reasons. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Again, there's always like a lesson to be learned in your systems and processes, either on the front end or back end. Like there's a reason that they left. Now, if they went out of business, even then it's like, man, I know business. I could have helped them stay in business, right? I didn't offer enough support. I could have. I mean, granted, not everybody's meant to be a business owner, right? There's some business owners that I work with where I'm like, man, you should just go get a job. I don't know how to tell you that, but like, this ain't for you, dude.
Read the email and call me back in a decade.
Right? Yeah. It's like it's not for everybody, man. And so there's some of those where it's like you can't like burn your butt over it, but at the same time, it's like, man, every time you lose a client, there's a lesson there of like, Yeah, there's something in there we can do better, right? It's either filtering on the front end or the service offering or the pricing or it usually whenever whenever you lose a client for like operational reasons, it's almost always a misunderstanding of expectations, like a misset of expectations. Even the one, Kurt, you were just talking about where it's like the guy wouldn't get going, right? He didn't like internally, the story he told himself was that, oh, this will be easy to get set up, right? We ran into that when we were running maid service businesses all the time. Like people would be like, oh, I just like to clean, right? I just wanted this job because I wanted an easy job cleaning. And then I realized, like, man, I really need to like set the expectation right up front with these people. Like, this is going to be the hardest job you've ever had, and you can cancel your gym membership. You're going to lose 20 pounds the first week you work here. Right? Like cleaning houses is not an easy job. It is, you're going to be sweating. It's a workout all day long. So don't take this job if you want an easier job, right? Go sit at a desk somewhere. This job ain't for you, right? And I've learned through like over time in our recruiting and recruiting and client attrition are the same thing, right? Employee turnover is the same exact thing. They're using clients or losing employees. Employee turnover is the same thing. You can say, oh, it's their fault, but then it's really your recruiting process. Like you let in somebody that didn't deserve to be there and it wasn't a good fit for, and your hiring process didn't filter that out. So now when I do my group interviews, man, I'm like trying to convince them to not come work here. Right. I'm trying to like pull every layer of that onion back and be like, here's all the shit that sucks about working here and working for Dan. Right. Like, make sure you really want to come work for me and deal with the stuff we deal with. If so, like opt in, but you got to know all the stuff that's going to suck. And so now when I do pricing, when I'm like doing an onboarding call for a bookkeeping client, I go through like at the end, it's like, here's the stuff that's going to suck. Like, this is going to be painful. This one's going to be the worst. We're all going to hate this. Like,
and here's $2,000 to not take this job after you do all that. And here's $2,000 to not take this job because, that's so expensive for them to accept a job that you're going to have to fill in just a few weeks.
Man, I had a guy from Pennsylvania take a job and we paid him for a week, $1,000. And now I'm still dealing with his unemployment claim for 1 week's worth of work. And just like in the Pennsylvania government, like letters I'm getting and like shutting this account down and shutting that account down is like, I mean, and you're going to pick wrong, right? I picked wrong. Yeah. My bad. I'm getting better. Always getting better. That's it. That's my client attrition metric rant.
Well, the other thing I say with all of what you said there, Dan, too, is like getting your team to, okay, assume we did something wrong. What is our fault in this?
Yeah.
And like, it's very easy to, like you said, come up with like, they're a shitty person. That's why it didn't work out. Rob doesn't like details. That's why it didn't work out. Rob's a jerk. No, like, so what, and that's like, what did we do wrong? And also, what can we change? Every time we make that bad hire, that bad onboarding, that bad client, like, what did we miss? Like, I rappelled off a building last week, right? And the lady who's rappelling next to me, she runs a HVAC company. And I interviewed somebody recently that wasn't a good fit for us for service manager, but would be, I think, a great fit for her. And knowing the size of their operation, which I think is somewhere like 50 to 80 technicians or people, they hired a service manager and fired them in 4 days or 5 days. Same thing. Like, so it's reassuring to know, like, hey, it's not just Rob who screws up, but that we all have those things. And you look back and say, like, okay, what did we miss? It's not always that they did a great job of selling themselves as a great person. There were things that if you look back and now knowing what you know, that like, I thought we had one guy for service manager that I thought was going to be great, and realized that he liked to make ridiculous asks. It wasn't a, I'm bold. Like, this is the same guy who, when we were at Sales Boost, was like, hey man, I didn't hit the sales target. Well, I get like a partial bonus for. I was like, no, the bonus is for hitting 30,000. If you hit 23,000, you didn't hit 30, you don't get the bonus. And like, we'd seen other questions that like made us think that like he was showing initiative, and instead it was, I'm just trying to see what all I can just ask for. And if I get shot down a lot for asking for extra money, oh well, I just asked for extra money.
Hey, if you want something, you got to ask for it.
Yeah.
But I do think that Rob brought up a point. I don't want to talk too much here because I've talked too much, but I just think that that's such a big
Kurt,
thing.
it's a podcast. You're supposed to talk.
Everyone's here, yeah.
It's actually really
Okay.
valuable when you talk.
Trust me, you have a lot to catch up with all of us.
I listened to what Rob's saying, and there's this time in your business. Okay, Kurt went through a time in his business when every time you lost a customer, every time something went wrong, you're like, well, obviously not a good fit. Obviously not a good fit. And you absolve yourself of all responsibility, and then you continue on as you were. And I think it's just such a nice way to remove yourself from any pain and suffering that it's addictive. And the problem is you do need to have a little pain and suffering every time you lose a client or an employee, because if you don't ask yourself those questions, you won't know what to ask in the next interview. You know, when it comes to like, hey, let's just run a scenario here real quick. If you had a bonus set for 30 grand and you sold 27 grand, how would you see working for you as a sales rep? That's an interview question now. Was an interview question before you hired the person that asked that question? No. But now you can ask that question and learn a lot about that person. They say, well, if you're close enough to the bonus, it's probably better to ask and not, and see what happens. Or maybe they come out of it. But at that point, it's not a yes or no question, and it allows them to sow the seeds. And the same thing goes for clients. Like when a client goes and you assume that they're just a bad client, well, what if you're a terrible product or service? You have to be willing to ask those questions. You have to be willing to take those answers. And yes, every data point on its own is probably not that useful. But when you get 7 or 8 data points and they're all the same thing, it's like that guy who can't find any friends because there's no good friends out there. Like, maybe you suck as a friend. Just take a second and chew on that.
I want to reflect on a piece of feedback that I got, and I didn't even have to ask for this one, Kurt. So I still don't know the right answer for how to ask for it. But Rob fired us at Blue Skies from both recruiting and bookkeeping, and sent us a video talking about why. And it was like the best. It actually was probably the best feedback that I got for when I got to rebuild Best Damn Bookkeeping, and we implemented a lot of stuff that he had said in Higher Lead Chill. Now, again, it's good to get feedback from everybody, but if Rob gives me feedback, I know Rob's not trying to get personal, right? Like Rob and I are going to be buddies and drink beer forever whenever we see each other. But he's trying to give feedback to help me, right? Design a better system, design a better process. And so like I said earlier, there's definitely certain people where it's like, yeah, I want Rob's feedback, right? Rob will tell me without hesitation what he thinks we're doing well and what he thinks we're doing poorly. And at some point, if we do a bad enough job, Rob, even your best friend's going to freaking leave your business. And that's you need that feedback though, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to be mad at him, right? I'm not mad at Rob that he left. Then I was like, fuck, I got to do a better job for Rob, right? Like Rob deserves better. We got to build this thing better. Now I don't trust everybody to give useful feedback to me. Not to say it's not useful, Kurt, like you said, maybe you might need 7 or 8 pieces of feedback, and damn, if you're not losing clients or employees, you might not even have a feedback loop to get enough feedback. But the feedback itself is important. You don't have to take it, right? Getting it is important. And then if you get enough of it that says the same thing, it's like, man, I guess I do need to do that. And so I think there's no harm in collecting it. How you ask for it, I'd be super curious how you guys ask for it. I try to keep it. You mentioned you don't want to sound like a desperate ex-girlfriend or something like that. Or in my case, a desperate ex-boyfriend, I guess is what I would have been. And I was desperate, man. I was for sure desperate, right? But if I'm asking that person for feedback, it's usually a one sentence, hey, can you, obviously, if we were doing a great job for you, you wouldn't have left. And so can you give me just a couple nuggets of things you think we could improve on? Just real quick nuggets, right? I don't feel like you owe me the sun and the moon, right? Just give me a couple things that you think we ought to work on. Right. And so I like, whenever I framed it that way, it's like, hey, I'm not mad that you're leaving. I totally get it. Let me know however I can help, but give me a couple bits. If you got a couple bits for me, we're always trying to get better. We'd love your bits. Sometimes they send that, and then as a team, we all laugh about it. Because we're like, what? You know, like then it's like, oh, Dan sold the wrong client, right? There's some of that. Like you still get to perceive the feedback for yourself. You don't have to tell the client like, man, you crazy. You can just talk to your team and laugh about it later. Like it's fun. Type 2 fun, we call it, when it's fun later. Like it's not fun losing a client, but it's fun telling the story later sometimes.
Type 2 fun.
Yeah. So it never hurts to ask for the feedback. You got to be careful of what, like you can't implement everything that everybody says, right? And sometimes again, it just tells you, oh, we sold the wrong client. Like that's not what we want to do. That's not what we want to be. We just didn't set expectations and let the wrong client in the door.
Well, I'll tell you, when Rob left Responsibid, we got great feedback, and it was long. I remember it was long, and we have a product that has a lot of iteration that has to go through, and even to this day, it's part of our product board. A lot of the feedback he has, we have some big objectives that we have to reach for. We can do certain things. And so we have to implement things at the speed at which we can implement them. And everyone has those limitations. But I'll tell you one thing about what you said about asking for nuggets of feedback. When somebody comes to us and says, I'd like to cancel my subscription to Responsibid, we give them a survey. And the survey, you can answer it in one word, or it's not required, whatever. Like, we don't try to like blow people up with like what's required, but we need that information, because where Rob might have a hyper specific thing for his business that sounds really cool, he's the only one asking for it maybe. But where Rob brings up something in great detail, we could tie that particular thing to like 4 or 5 little short sentences from other people. So the feedback fits together like a puzzle. And you can find that it supports one another. Like, this feature is missing. This feature is missing. This feature, and you hear it and you're like, okay, everybody's wanting this feature. Okay, cool. Problem is that feature would only be possible if these other 4 features existed. So I've got to build these 4 features first, then this one. And your cleaning company, if you're listening, you have a cleaning company, it may be that I need to hire technicians or buy equipment before I could even provide this sort of thing. Or I need to get certified with lifts, or I need to make a relationship with an equipment rental place in order to do this sort of thing and make sure it's feasible, or another cleaning company that I can contract specific parts of this work out to. Like, it can get complicated. The cool thing is that if people are giving you feedback for free, it's your business. That's the cool thing about being an entrepreneur. You can do whatever you want. But if people are showing you that like the road that most of us want to go down is over here, you get to make the determination, like, what would it look like if I went down that road? And it might look like hiring a contractor who is not even part of your business, who comes up behind every single one of your house washes and does a gutter brightening. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you could even make it part of your business with just contract work, is all I'm saying.
You just defined exactly how I added tax services this year, because it's the number one thing I get asked for. And I'm like, man, I'm just not a tax guy. Like, bookkeeping is a finance thing. It's not a tax thing. It just happens to be taxes. And I'm better now at resisting shiny objects. I'll say I'm better now. I'm not foolproof on resisting shiny objects. And taxes are the dullest of dull objects to me. Like, it couldn't be less shiny. I even tell people, back to the unselling people. When I talk to people about our taxes, I literally tell them, I just don't care if you use us for taxes. I'm not trying to short sell our guy, Jeff. I like Jeff. He's good at doing tax stuff. Yeah. But I don't care if you use us to do taxes. It means nothing to me. But it is really important to me that we support you. And if you want me to offer you tax services because it makes your life easier, that's what I exist for, right? Like, I'm just here trying to help people. And so if this is the thing that you really need for me to help you the most, well, damn it, I got to find a tax guy. And so that was the thing that ended up causing us to start offering taxes. But I've avoided it for like 5 years, because I'm just like, no, it's different. I would argue you're better off, and I will tell our clients this, you're better off having a different tax person outside of our business.
Mhm.
I truly think you're better off having a separate bookkeeping business, a separate tax business, checks and balances, right? Like make sure we can help hold your accountant accountable and they can help hold us accountable, right? It's a healthy dynamic. If you put all your eggs in one basket, what if the basket sucks, right? I'm not saying we're going to suck, but I'm saying you should hold us. You should have somebody else that's watching us too. I think that's healthy. We're going to do an awesome job, but it doesn't hurt to have somebody else that is looking at it as well, because if you're a small business owner, chances are you're probably not, or not often enough. So anyway, to exactly your point, Kurt, it's like you still get to decide at what point your arm gets twisted enough.
Yeah.
And is it something you even care to deal with? Or if you don't, like me, you hire a contractor until there's enough work to hire full-time people for it.
But that's legit, man. That's totally legit. I think that I thought about, gosh, this is years ago. There was a person I was working with that was just really, and it was a contract person, by the way. But like every time my email had a, like showed up as from this person, I would have this weird feeling come over me, like, oh, I don't want to really read that. Or
sorry for sending you those emails, man.
Or a Vox from Dan Flatta. No, I would get these messages and I'd be like, dang. And I would say something to my wife, like Rachel. I'd be like, Rach, it just drives me crazy when this person reaches out. It's just, it's a weird, painful, sorrowful. And she's like,
yeah, like gives you anxiety. Like, oh no, what is it now?
She's like, you should tell your boss. Tell your boss that you don't want to work with that person anymore.
How'd that go?
And I'm like, gotcha. You know, like what?
I am telling my boss right now. That's what I'm telling you, honey.
Yeah. It's just funny. Like,
I'll send me messages, hon.
It's your bet. It's your business, and you're working with people you don't want to work with. You're doing things you don't want to do. You're, you know, all this stuff. Whose fault is it, man? And what are you going to do about it? Like, are you just going to keep complaining about it and feeling bad and everything? Like, dude, if you wanted to feel that way, you could just go work at a regular place and you could just feel that way because it's all out of your control. But you have that like sweet, sweet advantage of being able to dictate who you work with and what products you sell and what things you do. And I mean, it's funny. You lay in bed, kind of wringing your hands and stuff, and then you realize, dang, I don't have to do that.
It goes back to the joy and happiness. And I don't, there's like some point somebody's going to put like a little plug into us and it'll be able to give us a joy and happiness score. Like they'll just plug it into us, and or like we put our hand on a thing and it'll read something from us, and
it's called Neuralink.
Yeah, we'll get a score.
You can eat
mood rings.
Yeah, that's true.
True. But I think that's why I think client attrition or repeat rate is so valuable, because it's in our business, I think it's the best metric we have to see are people happy, right? If our employees are happy and if our customers are happy, like we can do engagement surveys and stuff like that, and we can ask for reviews and feedback. But like a really telltale sign if people are truly happy is, are they leaving your company, either employees or customers? And if they're leaving, then somebody's not happy for some reason. Mm-hmm. And whether it's a thing you're doing or not doing, or it's an expectation that's not being set properly, or whatever the case is, like when and Kurt, you mentioned it earlier, like when people leave, the whole team feels it, right? It hits home. And I think that's healthy. Like it hits home because we're not happy. We're not happy when people leave. And so we want to be happy. We want joy. We want to feel like we're helping these people. And so when they leave, it's impactful to us because it tells us we didn't make them happy, right? And we like to make them happy. And if we make them happy, it makes us happy. So I think it all kind of comes back to that. And again, I'm gonna weave this all into my next presentation on goal setting, how to focus on the right stuff in goal setting and not just like revenue or whatever, you know, most goals are set on. But I think that's so like innate to us as humans. And life is short. And hell, if you're a business owner, like to Kurt, exactly to your point, like you're a business owner. It's crazy if you're a business owner and you're unhappy. Like then you did it. Then you did this to yourself. Like then you just got to go look in the mirror. If you're a business owner and you're unhappy, let me know. I'm gonna mail you a mirror.
Perfect. Hey, Dan, can you mail me a mirror? I am so handsome. I'd love to see my sad, sour face.
I want
Yeah.
to complain. I want to complain to myself instead of Rachel.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, that's pretty funny, man. I love it.
It's so true though. Like how many times when you said that, like how many times have we taken on customers, clients that you just, when you see their name, you're like, I'm gonna have to open that email.
Yeah.
Why do we do that
And
to us?
they go through phases though, right? I tell our team in January and February, like every maid service client that you have is all of a sudden going to be awful. In January and February, they're all stressed out. They all feel like they're going out of business. Their work slows down. They don't sell anything. All their cleaners are calling in sick. They got people winding up in the ditch. They got Jared Chanowski chiming in on their rant with, whoa, Kurt's there. And like every maid service business is miserable in January and February. And I know I was one of them, right? I said, I used to run businesses with the wrong metrics and focus on the wrong thing. And a bunch of them were maid service businesses and it sucked. And I was in it and I was there and I know exactly what they're going through. And so like, just make them happy, right? Like their business sucks right now and we know they're going to be unhappy, but we get to try to make them happy, right? We're going to send them data that's probably not going to make them happy, but like wrap them in a hug when you send it to it, when you send it to them. We know the seasonality of our clients. We know when people are going to be happy and unhappy. Like we get to watch it in all of them. And so I try to like prepare our team for that of it's still our job to like deliver this with a hug. We don't need to tell them they're doing a shitty job and frankly, we can tell them, hey, yeah, we see your January and February is going rough. That's okay. January and February is going rough for everybody, and it always will because it's January and February. Here's some ideas or some thoughts and some things we talked about. And here's how you did over the last 12 months, right? Don't worry about January and February. Build a business that's makes so much money in the busy season that it pays for January and February to suck, right? Like that's the business you're running. And I think there's some like awareness of that. And again, just there's times where people are going to be unhappy and we kind of know when it's going to be.
Yeah.
I know when it's going to be for my wife. I'm trying to like play that game a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm saying?
I don't know. No, I don't know what you're saying, Dan.
Never mind. I don't know either. I just
expand on that just a little bit. I'm
actually
notes.
Marty's really good at telling me like, hey, I'm just gonna be cranky. Like she has an innate ability to like she'll be emotional, but she's really good about explaining it before it happens. Like on a you get the Sunday funk. Everybody gets a Sunday funk every once in a while. And instead of her exhibiting her negative emotions of her Sunday funk towards you, she does a pretty good job of saying like, hey, I'm just in a shitty mood. And so if I'm being a shitty mood type of person, just know that like, I'm just in a weird, shitty Sunday funk sort of mood. So I apologize in advance for whatever Sunday funk sort of mood I give off. And I'm like, I really appreciate the heads up so that I don't think you're mad at me, right? At least I just know that you're fucking mad at the world and you're crazy. But I've been there too, right? Everybody gets in a mood like that. And it's really nice when somebody's in a shitty mood and they tell you in advance that they're in a shitty mood instead of you being like, man, why are they being awful to me? It's like, at least you could have told me. Yeah, at least you could have told me in advance that you're going to be shitty towards me. Then
it's super helpful because there are those times where like, man, there is something major going on. Like I don't need to go in details, and it's certainly it's helpful with people too. Like, and you have to when it's staff being proactive about it. Like, hey, guys, if something's going on, let us know. We've got to employ. We've got several that are dealing with some serious stuff going on. It's like, all right, can we give you more grace because of this, knowing this? And also, we had to have a conversation recently with somebody that, like, we know you're in a big mess, but I also, you got to do your job. Like, that's the true reality of it. Like, we can be a little bit more lenient on certain things, be flexible on your time off, but like, you gotta still be worth it here, And that's just having that real talk that, yeah, hey, you're dealing with. We had somebody who was who had to deal with court and custody and this and that, and was calling us at like 9:15, like, hey, where can I meet the crew? And it's like, bro, you're supposed to be here at 7:30. Well, man, I don't have phone services and that. It's like, dude, it's 2025. If you knew you had to deal with this at some point, I know that in the past 2 hours of your life, especially if you had to go deal with some custody stuff, you were near some free Wi-Fi at some point. And even cell phone service or not, again, if you got the determination, you're going to make that phone call. And if you told us ahead of time, cool, man, I got to deal with this anytime from like 7 p.m. the night before until 7:30 a.m. when you're late. Like, I'm really flexible on that. I'm really cool with that.
Nobody likes surprises, man. Nobody's like
an hour and a half later. And I'll say the other thing with feedback is really helpful when you get somebody else's opinion or insight on it too. So when we were at Sales Boost, our service manager quit that Monday, and I asked the dude, like, what's up, please? Like, I always want that feedback. And what he said, part of it was just that I'm really blunt about stuff. And Dan like read it all. He's like, Rob, I love you for that. I know exactly what you're thinking because you're blunt.
Yeah, blunt as hell. Just goes right at it. It's perfect.
Yeah. But that's understanding that and appreciating that. And other people are like, can't you sugarcoat it, please?
Like I need you to tell me when I got some shit in my
Speaking
teeth.
of sugarcoating,
yeah,
look at that guy.
Sugarcoating that.
Hi, guys. He's reflecting on the beach.
So cute.
What's happening, Jared?
How you doing, Jesse?
That's all I wanted to see is Kurt. So hi.
I was gonna say, actually, we invited Kurt because we're like, JC's not here. That's okay. We like Kurt better anyway. So let's get Kurt in here.
What a terrible choice you made, Dan.
Hi, Kurt.
He's in the other corner on my screen. You weren't even you were just putting your armpit in Angela's face is all you were doing, which was cool too. That was super cool too. I'm not trying to dog you on that. That was funny. Rob, I was gonna say, as far as like expectation setting goes about like, hey, when I'm in a bad mood, does Tori tell you like, hey, Rob, I'm about to have a third drink? And then like, that would be a good one. Rob, I'm about to have a third drink, bud. Buckle up.
Usually I'm aware of that. We went out the other night and we went out for old fashions. And, hi, folks. I'm Rob. I drink a bunch, but I can hold my own for many, many drinks. At least I think I can. And
I can vouch for it because I can, and Rob can do better than me. There was one time he drank 2 beers when I was drinking 1. You probably saw it.
Yeah. She had 2 glasses of wine, like with dinner and making dinner, and then we went out for drinks.
Oh boy!
And everything seemed great for the second old fashioned. Then we get one more, and then the entire ride home was hysterical because she likes to bring up like, let's ask interrogating questions during our date so we can cause conflict. And then she's trying to read the same questions off her phone on the drive home, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're really drunk. Like you're not you." There were some easily read words that just were nonsensical, and we got home. My son's like, "Dad, can we watch Lost?" I was like, "Dude, your mom's passed out."
Yeah, we gotta take care of mom here.
Yeah. But yes, that third drink is
there's a tipping point Tori. That's gonna be my new nickname for her when we come in July. I'll be like, hey Rob, I'm gonna give Tori another drink. You ready? Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Rob might be getting some interrogating questions if you say tipping point. Sorry.
Yeah, she might. Yeah.
I mean, Tori already knows me. I've been there. I've probably been the catalyst in like 3 of her tipping points. I'm probably to blame, Yeah. I'm accountable. I'm in there. It's always a good time for everybody besides Rob. But
yeah, there was that time in San Diego.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, we did
I was home in bed.
Yeah, you were.
Here's my we're out of time today, folks, but here's my like closing. We did this kind of last week where I said we're going to talk about my favorite metric, and then we didn't actually last week. We talked about it this week. And there was a thing that Angela and I talking about before the show even started. I don't think I put it in notes, but I was like, hey, Angela, I'm just going to foreshadow next week's show, assuming, Angela, are you going to be on next week's show?
Yes.
I was like, Angela, what are you guys doing with AI or about AI? Because I don't know, like, I know I want to use it, but like, is it going to replace strategic partners, formerly known as virtual assistants? How in a virtual assistant strategic partner business, how, like, does it worry you? Does it excite you? How does your team use it? It's something I'm super curious about. And Angela and I haven't even talked about it yet. Besides, she just talked about it with Drew Larison before she talked about it with me.
Answer in 5 seconds.
Lucky Drew. So don't answer anything. That's not even a question. I'm just setting the stage for next week. If you want to learn more about AI and talk about AI, and make me anxious because AI scares me. I think it's the end of the world as we know it. It's going to be the Matrix and iRobot all wrapped into one, and we're all going to die.
We'll just have to fish in an ice house with no internet.
AI might melt all the ice, so I can't even ice fish. It's probably going to like burn it all underneath you and sink you. Who knows? But come next week, we're going to dive into how a strategic partner business thinks about AI and uses AI. And I'm super excited for that conversation. And
how all home service businesses should be using it.
Oh, hell yeah. I like that too. And I didn't pull any Prices Right stuff together for this episode. Kurt, one thing I like to do, I steal all of our bits from other podcasts that I listen to. Like, it's the best form of flattery, right? One of my favorite bits is The Price is Right, where you guys all get to bid on random stuff that I find that's business related, and we see who wins. Yeah, Angela's not so good yet, but we'll keep trying. If you show up, you'll probably be able to beat her pretty easily.
Okay.
We'll see. Sometimes I find businesses for sale. Sometimes I find goofy equipment for sale. One time I found a commercial grade juicer for sale. My wife is all about juicing. And I was like, honey, you got to lay off the roids. Maybe that's why you're in a Sunday funk and you're going to put me in a headlock.
You're killing me, man. Oh my gosh.
But we'll be back next week. Jai, hit us with some closeout music. Make it sound cool. There we go. Oh yeah. Now we're wrapping up. I got to go get my kids and do dad stuff. It's that time of year. Like, there's a sport every night in the Plata household. So I think tonight is soccer night for Danny. And then trying to keep the other two kids from hurting each other or hurting themselves or hurting other pedestrians. We'll see. Business nerds,
fatherhood.
Yeah, right. Just like keep everybody alive. That's the goal. Business nerds, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn some pride. I don't even know who I have on tonight. I should probably check in with them. I got to check the pod. There's a podcast tonight. I'll be back here wherever I am tonight, 8:00 Central Time, doing a podcast with somebody, and I'm going to message them to make sure they're still good to jump on because I totally forgot about that. Peace out.
Bye.
Later. You the man, Kurt. Thanks for joining us, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.